guys, Standing Simmer here today, and welcome back to the channel for another speed build. Guys, this is a ridiculously exciting speed build for me because for a lot of reasons, actually. This is not part of the Building of Windenburg series. As you might have guessed, we are just smack dab in the middle of Oasis Springs right now. And guys, this build is really exciting for, like I said, a couple of reasons, but the main one for me is that it is completely base game. Base game only. You will not need any other packs. I know for a fact, not just because I tried really hard, during the build to avoid using other packs, but because I actually used James Turner's or the Sim Supplies pack disabler and literally essentially took every other pack out of my game. So guys, this is purely base game. There was no way I could have used anything else in this build. And in addition to that, that whole base game thing, as long as, as if it wasn't exciting enough just on its own, I am actually also building in a Mediterranean style. Guys, the Mediterranean style is one that I've never really experimented with before. I love the way that it looks so much. In fact, I have contemplated doing this style many times in the past and just never really got around to it. And I actually did not intend to do a base game build that was Mediterranean. Like, that was not my goal starting off. When I was initially conceptualizing this build, I was actually thinking more Spanish villa, which is why I'm in Oasis Springs in the first place. So then I go to, looking up some reference photos, kind of getting those inspiration juices flowing, and I stumbled upon some Mediterranean photos, and I was like, oh my gosh, those are beautiful. Then I quickly double checked to make sure we had anything that could remotely be considered Mediterranean in the base game, and we did. Namely these blue tiles that are on the roofing and enough items that I thought would work for the interior. Now guys, this is by no means me saying, hey, I am now an expert on the Mediterranean style. In fact, I really couldn't tell you exactly a lot of what classifies the Mediterranean style. I just know that I looked up a lot of reference photos. I actually watched a speed build as well that kind of once again got my juices flowing. That speed build, by the way, was by Freezer Bunny. In case you guys have not checked out his channel, if you don't know who he is, you just need to go watch his videos because they're really good. He is an architect, and that makes sure that he brings a lot to The Sims as far as building goes, just right off the bat. And he built a Mediterranean style home. I think it's been a while ago on his channel, but if I remember, I will link that specific video in the description. If not, if I don't find that video again, I will link his channel, period, because you guys definitely need to be watching him if you enjoy Sims 4 speed builds, because I have just recently come to know his channel, and I have just been binge watching all of his playlists. So I've really been enjoying that. But again, that was kind of where the actual Sims 4 build inspiration came from. So from him I got some ideas as far as what types of items to use specifically in the interior. I really didn't replicate a lot of the exterior things that he did, but I was really kind of lost as to what to do for the interior, because the exterior photos for a Mediterranean type villa are kind of all across Google Images and Pinterest. I didn't have a ton of problems coming up with inspiration for the exterior. However, interior photos are a little harder to find, and the ones that you find are pretty relative. It seems like that they are pretty specific to whatever family happens to be living in that house, which makes sense, right? I mean, if you're living in a house and it's a Mediterranean villa and you live down the road from someone who lives in a Mediterranean villa, then you're probably going to have slightly different interiors. I mean, possibly the tiling and the wallpapering is going to be similar, but the actual furnishing is probably going to be pretty different because you're talking about two different families. So I was kind of lost as to what to do for interior furnishing. I kind of wanted to stick somewhat close to the style, and so that video, among a few reference photos I found on Pinterest, were also pretty helpful to me. So as far as the specs of this build go, guys, this is a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom home, and of the 4 bedrooms, only 3 are actually furnished right now as bedrooms. Of course, we'll get to those much later on in the speed build. In fact, kind of here at the beginning, I spend a good deal, just a decent portion here at the start, showing you guys how I put together the exterior, because first of all, I'm really proud of it, and when I'm proud of my exteriors, I kind of want to show you guys how they all come to be. There are a lot of things in this build that I just really enjoy doing. I really enjoyed how unique it is compared to some other things that I tend to do as far as speed building goes, so I wanted to leave a lot of it in. So just a heads up for you guys, a good deal of the first part of this video is purely exterior and landscaping at the same time, because the landscaping actually looks really good. I think so, and I'm definitely not trying to toot my own horn there. I'm just saying, I definitely would consider landscaping to be one of my weaknesses when it comes to building The Sims. I really enjoy putting together exteriors and can do so pretty well as long as I have a good reference photo or two. Floor planning, I love. I consider it to be kind of a challenge. It's like putting together a puzzle for me. I don't know. I love looking at the interior of a house and trying to figure out where everything's gonna go. I don't know. I just kind of get this bizarre pleasure from that. It's just something I really enjoy. It's something I look forward to. Obviously, it's not something I show you guys a lot in my voiceover. Well, I don't show you anything in the voiceovers, but I don't leave that footage in a lot of the time when it comes to building because it's a lot of me trying to figure out where everything goes. If you guys ever want me to start leaving in portions of the floor planning, just let me know. But when it comes to larger builds like this one, normally it's one of the first things to go. I'm like, you know what, don't have time for that, gotta cut it out to make room for some other things, and that way the speed build doesn't end up being too awful long. So yeah, just let me know about that, guys. I mean, if you have a preference one way or the other. In the meantime, I'm probably gonna keep just cutting it out because it's easier for me that way. Once again, it means I can show you guys more of other things in the house. So of course, the base game has had lots of patches since the base game came out in 2014. I actually meant to look this up, but I'm kind of recording this voiceover like literally an hour after I finished building this. I didn't intend to start putting this video together so quickly, but I was so excited when I finished it and, you know, uploaded it to the gallery, and I shared a couple of photos over on not Pinterest, gosh. Guys, it's like nearly 11 o'clock in the evening for me, and so yeah, I'm just not thinking quite clearly, but you know, that's not anything new, I guess. But I shared a couple of photos over on Twitter, which you guys can follow me over there if you would like. I'm at standingsimmer over there, but that's always in the description too, by the way, in case you guys are wanting to know about that. But I shared a couple of photos over on Twitter, and I was like, hey, I'm so excited about this house, oh my gosh, and then immediately started putting this video together in editing, and here I am doing the voiceover. So this build is gonna go up several days from now. You guys should probably be seeing this, I would say, on a Tuesday. I'm thinking this will be my Tuesday build. We'll have to see. But yeah, guys, so that just kind of gives you an indication of how excited I was to, you know, actually do this voiceover, how excited I was for this build as a whole. Yeah, I'm very pleased with the way that it turned out. I think I was saying something originally, but I've completely forgotten what that is now, so sorry about that. But guys, like I said, a good deal of the outside of this house is shown in the footage. Again, not something I always do. Landscaping is one of those things that I sometimes cut things out. I actually do cut out small portions of the landscaping of this build, mainly because it is fairly repetitive. Like, I show you I kind of show you my initial strategy when it comes to landscaping, and then I systematically just kind of cut out the smaller portions from then on. Like, there are some portions in the front yard that I cut out, and then a good deal of the backyard landscaping is just not there because it's pretty much the same. If you're wanting to know what the style is, just, you know, see how I did the front landscaping and then you'll have a pretty good idea. But there are a lot of things that I did in this build that I've never done before, or just never do hardly at all. Like, it's not something I'm as accustomed to doing. Some of the things were just like the sheer detailing on the outside of the build itself. Others were the pool area. Like, just the pool area, guys, is something I've never done before. I tend to stick to my like rectangular pools, and that's just the pool. But I always kind of dread putting a pool in the backyard of my Sims houses because they kind of look a little plain. Like, they almost always look just about the same compared, like one pool compared to the other, at least in my backyard landscaping areas. But I love the way that this pool looks because I did something a little different with it. I didn't actually show in the footage me putting the physical structure of the pool together. I do all that off camera. Actually, I didn't even record that portion of the build, but you do get to see a good bit of that later. Like, we just did a little bit of landscaping around it, and then you're gonna kind of see it flash by here and there in the footage itself. And my main inspiration for that, guys, came from Sim Kim. So I've mentioned her in my voiceovers before, mainly because she's a big inspiration to me when it comes to landscaping. I feel like landscaping and terrain painting, here in the last couple of months, she's kind of really just like challenged me to step up my game. Just watching her videos makes me want to do better when it comes to landscaping and terrain painting. And I don't know if you guys can tell any bit of a difference, but I feel like I'm a little bit happier with the way that those things have been turning out in my builds as of late. So she is definitely one that I could credit for that. She has amazing builds as well. I tell you what, I'm gonna link her channel too. I'm sure that a good bit of you guys are probably already watching her channel, but regardless, if you aren't and you like Sims 4 building, I highly recommend you go check her out because she is amazing. So yes, guys, still working out in the backyard, as you can see. I really love the little outdoor, I don't even exactly know what to call it. There's like a little building unto itself right off the pool area. And I wanted to build this because I wanted another shape, another structure in the backyard aside from the house. I just wanted something to kind of break it up. I have trouble, knowing exactly what to do with my backyards, especially when they're large. So I tend to put in, other structures. I tend to put in large scale building items, or I put in a big old garden, It just kind of depends on what I'm feeling for that house. For this house, I was feeling no backyard fencing, a large and unique looking pool area, and I was also really wanting to put, once again, another structure out there. So there's like this little outdoor eating area, there's a grill, there's a radio, just a really cool, just a nice little hangout type area. I imagine that this house could fit, just initially, if you download it off the gallery right now, it could fit, I would say 4 to 5 Sims, something like that, because there are 2 double beds and a single bed in this house. And I said earlier that there are 4 bedrooms and that 3 are furnished as bedrooms. Again, we'll get to that a little bit later on, but that 4th area that could be a bedroom could also, like I say, easily be furnished as a bedroom. So if you guys need additional space for your Sims, if you want another kid's bedroom, something along those lines, then there is space for you to do that. Right now, the bedroom I'm talking about that's actually not a bedroom is furnished as a scale building room, which once again we'll get to a little bit later on. Now we've moved on to the interior of the house, and there's this beautiful breezeway area that kind of spans the front and the backyard. So you can literally walk right from the front yard straight on through into the backyard. And if you don't want to walk through the house that way, you can kind of turn either direction once you're in that breezeway area. And to the left, if you're looking at the front of the house, to the left, you'll go into the main living areas like the living room and the kitchen. And then you get to the main upstairs area from there. If you go to the right, you'll see the area that we'll be furnishing much later on after we furnish this area. So for the interior, like I said, I was kind of going partly off of what I thought this family would like, partly off of reference photos for what the interior was actually going to look like. Again, not so solid on what exactly a Mediterranean style for an interior would look like. However, I was trying to stick to like whites and blues and things like that. So similar colors to what the outside has. I just thought that it would just make it cohesive. I thought that might be a pretty good choice if I was a little bit more unsure on interiors for a Mediterranean build. I also wanted to make sure that there were a lot of plants included everywhere. I thought that like in a bit of like a tropical, warm, like beautiful area environment, you would probably have plants just about anywhere you could fit plants. To be honest with you, I could totally imagine that being the case with builds like this one. I'm actually really surprised with how much the base game has to offer these days. I think that may have been what I was talking about earlier when I kind of got distracted. But yes, I think it was because I was mentioning how I had intended to look up how many patches exactly have been added to the base game since it originally came out in 2014. I think it was September 2014, guys, is that right? Because I wasn't in the simming community back then, way back then. I really wasn't. I actually started playing The Sims 4 probably more like, I think it's a couple of years ago now. I'm honestly forgetting. Fun fact, I actually started playing The Sims 3 prior to playing The Sims 4, even though The Sims 4 had already been released for a couple of years. The reason for that is that I was when I first decided I wanted to actually buy The Sims, when I've always wanted to play The Sims. When I was younger, I wanted to play The Sims. I just didn't really get the chance to play The Sims when I was younger. Like my parents weren't super big into computer games or anything like that. So I wanted to play The Sims for a long time. And then a couple of years ago when, I was out, I was making my own money, I had my own paycheck coming in, I was like, you know what, I'm finally gonna buy The Sims. I was like 19, guys, like I was late teens. I was, like I said, had my own paycheck. I was like, heck with it, gonna buy The Sims. So I was looking around on some forums and trying to decide between The Sims 4 and The Sims 3, because way back when I initially wanted to start playing The Sims, like a little bit in my earlier teen years, The Sims 3 was what was out. So that was what was in my mind as far as, The Sims game goes. I didn't even know that there was a Sims 4 at the time. So I was looking up some forums and I actually saw a lot of information from some people who were like, you know what, The Sims 3 is better than The Sims 4. You guys know, I mean, people kind of still say that to this day, even though I don't think that they have as much reason to say it to this day. I think that The Sims 4 has really started to deliver well content-wise, and the people that I saw on the forums were probably more comparing like the completed game that is The Sims 3 to the uncompleted game that is The Sims 4, but of course I didn't know that at the time. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll buy The Sims 3. again, that was kind of the Sims game I had in my mind anyways. I didn't even look up any gameplay or anything. I was like, Sims 3 it is. So bought it, played it for a long time, actually several months, possibly even up to a year. And then by that point, I was into the YouTubing community the simming community on YouTube. Guys, can you tell that this is a late voiceover? I mean, can you tell? Anyways, so I'd kind of gotten into the simming community on YouTube. I now knew what The Sims 4 looked like in game. I now knew how intuitive it was compared to The Sims 3. And as much as I still loved and played The Sims 3 excessively, I also was like, yeah, let's give this a shot. So bought The Sims 4, and then the rest is history, you know? So here we are, several expansion packs later. But even when I bought the base game a few years ago for The Sims 4, it still looks pretty different today compared to what it did then, because we've had so many really good patches. I think that I bought it following the toddler patch, so it's been less than 2 years since I have been playing The Sims 4 specifically. But again, lots of new content that's been added even since then. The most notable of which, I think this is what I'm trying to come around to this whole time. I've kind of just been talking in a circle. But the most notable patch of which is one of the more recent ones, which is the Caribbean update to The Sims. And so I actually found myself reaching toward a lot of those items. You'll see that wall hanging, the plant, the sliding doors, I mean, there's a lot of stuff from that patch in this build. And I'm just really, really thankful that I had that to offer in this build, because it probably still would have looked really good, but I mean, even like the love seats and some of the chairs and all that kind of stuff, like I really was reaching for that part of the base game a lot. And so I'm really thankful that it was there, because yeah, I don't know exactly what this build would have looked like otherwise. Like I said, it probably still would have been just fine, but I'm very happy to have had that extra content is what I'm saying. So guys, we of course are still just moving through the interior. By now we've furnished the we furnished the master bedroom. No, we haven't yet. Gosh, I'm not even sure what I'm saying. But we furnished the bedroom that's on the lower floor, and we've also furnished the skill building room that's on the lower floor. So that's that portion of the build that's to the right if you're kind of walking into that breezeway. I kind of wanted to make sure that there was a bedroom down over there, because I was picturing this family to have possibly like an elder member of the family, or maybe like an uncle or an aunt. So someone who's a little older, we're not talking teenager necessarily. Of course, a teenager or whoever the heck you want could be in that room. But I was thinking more for like a family member who was old enough to have like a portion of the house to themselves. There's not a bathroom over there, which is not a big deal, I don't think. I mean, there are 4 bathrooms total in this house, so they don't have to walk too far to find one. But like I said, I was picturing specifically like a mother-in-law, like little mother-in-law quarters. And then in the skill building room there, which again, we're past that point. Sorry that I'm just like, you know, talking about stuff that's already happened. But we had like a card table and the woodworking table and a little punching bag. And then of course, you know, the bedroom that I was just talking about a second ago, which now's probably a good time for me to mention both that this build is player tested. I did have my sim just run through this build, make sure that she could sleep in all the beds, use all the toilets, all that kind of stuff. You get into the kitchen, living room, you know, the basics. I really wanted to make sure that this build was functional in that sense. There were a couple of things I had to move around, but nothing too major, I would say. So that bed, even though it's pretty close to the wall, the one that I was talking about in like the mother-in-law type room, it is functional on both sides from what I could tell. It's hard to really test that when you're playing with just one sim, because you can't have her get in one side of the bed then jump over the other. Like it really doesn't work that way, but to the best that I could tell, it was accessible from both sides. So now we are working on the master bedroom, and guys, just a bit ago we were working on the more the kids room of the house, the only room that I would consider to be a kids room as it stands right now. I did some really cool things. Once again, we're kind of past this point, but did some really cool things with some shelving behind the bed. Again, the bed is functional, but I just kind of wanted to hide that weird headboard that base game bed has. So I was also wanting to just play around with some shelving, because I think that looks really nice. So the kids bedroom is probably the one of all of the rooms in this house I would consider to be like it's not really akin to the style. It's very different compared to the other rooms. But again, if you're a kid and, you know, kid and or teen, whatever, if you're young and you're, putting what you want in your room, you're not thinking about the style of the rest of the house. You're kind of just like, begging your parents to buy you the comforter and the curtains and the toys that you want, and then the rest just kind of falls into place. So I don't think that that room necessarily has to match the rest of the house. But anyways, like I said, we've already kind of moved past furnishing the master as well. Pretty simple, but the really cool feature of the master is that it has like a balcony, just a little mini balcony. There's a set of double doors that leads out to, like, again, a little mini balcony that's just on the outside that kind of overlooks the backyard, which I think is gorgeous. And then finally, the last room that we're furnishing in the house is the skill building room that's on the upper floor, which is just like a painting quarters. I thought that perhaps if there was like a mother-in-law type figure or just someone who lived in that lower floor bedroom, maybe they're a painter and that's kind of like their studio. I just think it looks really cool. So guys, this build is available on the gallery and you can download it there right now if you would like. It's under my user standingsimmer and the hashtag standingsimmer, and it's also in the description below. I've been trying to put some download links as long as the gallery is working, so you guys can look out for that. But guys, we're gonna wrap up the build right now, so thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you're having the best of days, and I will see you very soon. Bye!